Hey everybody, it's JP. This is Web3T. It's our 10th episode today, so very happy to be here. Web3T, we're talking to the biggest, bestest minds and projects in crypto, and we're delivering again today. We've got ARCADE2EARN, Jorge from ARCADE2EARN, really awesome NFT platform. And we've also got Hustle, surprise last minute guest dialing in from rainy Miami. So we got two Florida, one Ecuador, and one New York on the line. So if you're new, give us a like, throw on the subscribe. If you're not new, I don't know. Thanks for coming back. So yeah, we're about to start ramping up how many videos we're doing too. We've been doing about 2 a month over the last couple of months. We just started this again, 10th episode. We're going to be ramping things up around here, so get ready because we're going to be dialing it up. So without further ado, yeah, how you guys doing? Jorge, Hustle, what do you got to say for yourself?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having us. Really excited to be able to kind of share the space with you guys. Talk a little bit about GameFi, talk about how the market is trending, what we're seeing, what we're doing, and just kind of excited to just have a flow of conversation that's going to be educative, knowledgeable to those that are kind of new to this space or wanting to learn more.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for having us. Really, excited to get into everything that we're going to talk about today, and love what you guys are doing. So, thanks for having us, and let's get into it.
Yeah, Matt Bartlett, my partner in crime. I didn't intro you. The other way.
All right, I'm a no-name sidekick. It's
no,
fine.
You're what's the guy Conan and what's his name?
Andy.
Andy Richter. You're my Andy Richter.
Yeah.
I love you.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job as usual. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and I think the best thing to do, I wrote a really awesome blog about Arcade and kind of how I saw it. It was interesting because Bartlett, you had a couple calls with, I don't know if Jorge or the team, and then, we got the deck, and then I was like trying to read it, and then when I finally talked to you guys, something clicked, and it just really reminded me like of Moby Dick, where you got a group of people pooling resources, you got the owner of the ship, you go out to sea, and then you come back and you try to kind of distribute the earnings, or, the whale blubber or whatever it is. And it just really made sense to me, and that's kind of how I crafted that blog. And I don't know, did you agree with that when you read that? Like, what did you think? You're like, what is this guy talking about?
So it's funny, man. At first, I was like, where's this guy going with this, right? And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Again, Van Eck wrote it, so I'm like, I got to read this whole thing now. And so I read through the whole thing, and I was like, this is actually a perfect example to be able to use to those that don't understand it and need visuals. And granted, I think it's the older generation that will know the Moby Dick. And of course, I understood it. But, it's funny. Literally 3 days later, we're on a call right now with a company that's doing some of our publishing for Cointelegraph and Forbes. And they're like, we understand this, but can you help us understand it a little further? Maybe use some visual, give us something that will maybe be better. And I was like, hold on, how about this article from Van Eck? And they read it and they're like, whoa. And they're like, okay. So they wrote their own version that's going to be published and everything. And so yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it's a great way to kind of explain ARCADE2EARN in a different setting.
Jorge, he hit me on a Saturday. He was like, you gotta get this idea. I've had a genius moment. And I kind of had the same reaction that you had when you first started reading. I'm like, yeah, Moby Dick, okay. Yeah. It worked out.
Well, I'm an English major, so that's how I do things. Come up with a stupid idea and slam it into the package. So let's do 2 minute breakdown. Somebody who's coming on this YouTube, never been here before. We're talking about ARCADE2EARN. They don't know what it is. What is ARCADE2EARN? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so think about us as a gaming platform for those that are trying to come into the space, that are either investors, that are gamers, that are guilds, that are developers. Arcade is really for everyone. And we built this GameFi platform that is two-sided. The first side is for those that are looking to get into this space but don't want to have the risk of holding an NFT or not understanding. There's so many games that are coming out right now, and it's so hard to keep track of what's how and everything. So for those that are like, okay, I don't really want the exposure to the actual asset itself, but I want to enjoy the rewards from some of these games. So we built think about it as almost as a DeFi platform, right? Where people are able to come in and stake into mission pools, but the mission pool itself is attached to an asset. And I'll give you a quick example. Like, think about Star Atlas. Shipping the Star Atlas cost $100,000. It's not every day that there's a person that could afford 100,000.
It's 100,000 US dollars.
100,000 US dollars equivalent to whatever their Atlas coin is, right? And so, the barrier to entry to a lot of these games is just too high. And so that's where Arcade comes in. So we'll be able to purchase this asset, this NFT asset, the ship. And to give you a quick context of the ship is supposed to go from one planet to another planet to help fuel the ones that are on that planet, right? And so basically what we'll do is we'll buy the asset, and then we'll lend that asset to a guild or esports professional and let him or her produce the revenue from that game asset, from that in-game activity, bring it back to the platform. And on the other side of the platform is where the consumer is that has staked into the mission pool. So we're giving people access to NFT assets that they can't either afford, or they just don't have the knowledge, or just simply want to just enjoy the metagame of GameFi. And so that's kind of almost in a nutshell. But the really cool part about it is that as play to earn shifts to play to own, and as esports comes in, Arcade is literally going to be a platform for esports professionals, because we will have an esports mission pools. It's called mission pool sponsors. And then we have, again, for guilds and those just single gameplay professionals that are looking to get into this space. So we literally touch almost everybody that's in this space. And I think what's really, really exciting is that when we started this, a lot of it, we were going to hedge funds, VCs, and family offices. And they're like, hey, man, I'm not going to have my analysts play 10 hours a day playing a game and, all this. So for them, this platform that we built is exactly what model that they needed to have access to GameFi and not have the risk of GameFi assets, and not to really kind of spend hours of learning of what they need to invest into an NFT, a GameFi NFT. And on the other side, of course, as you see the space kind of changing in guilds kind of changing with their scholars, this Arcade has become another platform for them to come here and, hey, let us use or borrow these assets so that they could go and play without having to hold the actual asset. And so literally Arcade is solving so many issues in GameFi that are currently a problem, from the barrier to the entry, the knowledge and everything. So really excited to be just working in the space as it's evolved. And of course, I have a great partner advisor in Hustle from Crypto Banter and HustlePedia. So, this all really works out well.
Yeah, let's hear from Hustle. What do you guys say, Hustle?
Yeah, I mean, from the day that I remember, whenever I met the Arcade guys out in Miami in January, actually, at the North American Bitcoin Conference, and they were super stoked to just kind of like talk GameFi, and just their passion for the space was so evident the second that I met their whole team. And just there's a lot of synergies in our mindsets, right? In trying to overall like lower the barrier of entry, educate people, and just get people involved in GameFi, show them the benefits of GameFi. This is not something that is so portrayed as this negative like stigma against NFTs in games, right, from the traditional gamers. And we'll get into all of that in this, I'm sure. So it's awesome to see like the synergies that we had immediately. And I mean, the amount of, games we're able to talk to and really cultivate relationships with and see what they're building behind the scenes. Like, it's so exciting to almost be at like the forefront of building like the Web3 gaming landscape in a way.
I kind of see, I think it was the last one we had on, we had a guy named Patrick Bush on from our team, who's an investment analyst on the crypto team. And we were asking him, what's the moonshot application for crypto, right? Like, what's the thing that turns, I'll call us a core group of like nerds or like really into it, and then like, nobody else knows about it. Like, what's it going to take to go to that next level where everybody knows about it, right? Beyond just maybe there's a headline. And I think it's going to be a video game. I think it's going to be a game. There's going to be a Fortnite moment where 2 months ago nobody's ever heard of it. This month they everybody's playing this game, and there's an NFT, and maybe and it's not $100,000 NFT either, right? Like it's a $100 NFT, it's a $50 NFT, like a normal kind of entry level to a game. I think it's gaming. I think gaming is going to be the thing that like hits it out of the park and like turns crypto into like mainstream more than it is now. You guys agree with that? I mean, what else? I don't think it's going to be DeFi. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's day trading crypto either, because you lose your money and then you're like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, right?
I think the massive adoption application, the biggest open door application is gaming or metaverse, right? One of the two categories, whichever one it's going to be. But I think games makes the most sense because like Fortnite's the biggest metaverse in the world. Let's be real. The biggest and the best metaverse in the world is Fortnite. You can almost be any character you want. And the way that they've designed that game, it's so culturally embedded. Like that has been a metaverse ongoing for 6 years at this point. So games are the most like curated experiences. Like I've mentioned, I spent 6 years competing in Call of Duty, every single day. Like it was just repetitive. It was like clockwork. Like when you're in it, and it's something that they're all so cultural, like Apex Legends. These games have communities, but in Web3, those communities actually have a say in the game and the development and the structure and the governance. There's so many things that Web3 brings to the table. And I do think it's going to take a killer app, like a big game, to come in the space from like a big developer or a streamer or something like that. And I think we probably will get into later on maybe some projects we think that could open the door to some mass adoption in GameFi. But I think there's a lot of ways to get eyes on the space. And as soon as like those big streamers and influencers, the FaZe clans, et cetera, start playing these games potentially, it could really open the door for adoption very quickly overnight.
Well, yeah, I think let's take a step back, right? And since you guys are in the finance section,
You cut now, Jorge. You're back.
can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
I think this would be really cool is that gaming is a $200 billion, industry, right? And for GameFi, building, having utility behind some of these games, if you look at like Fortnite, right? And imagine if NFTs were part of Fortnite, how much value we would bring to those that are, buying or purchase assets for building a community. I mean, I think Fortnite would be almost like, I can't say the number, but it would be something extraordinary if they were in GameFi. Now you start looking at what GameFi is doing and what we're building. And look, we're in year two, not even, I think we're 2 years old in GameFi right now. But the game's developing. It takes
Jorge,
3 to 5 years, or even 7 years.
You're breaking up like crazy, Jorge.
I think, like.
You're breaking up like crazy. Just give it.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. Just give it 1 sec. Yeah, it was just like pretty crazy. You were doing. I could get bits and pieces of what you were saying. And it was really good. I just it was just breaking up. Now I can't hear you.
Hustle's on.
I was muted. I was unmuted. No, because we could hear him, but it was very staticky.
Okay. Try again.
So speaking of the moonshot application, I guess one thing I'm curious about is there's building games, and then there's building games in the Web3 space where you then have to consider the infrastructure in place to onboard new gamers with wallets, right? And
Absolutely.
so I'm wondering if will the development become more streamlined so that many of these game development companies are using the same marketplace tools, the same transaction elements, the same components that are all tied to on-ramping?
I think they're all going to be the same, right? So I think like the way that Web3 has to curate it is as similar to Web2 gaming as possible. Microtransactions, right? People are used to buying skins. People are used to buying battle passes. And then if you also give them those Genesis characters that are a little more rare than the characters that'll drop later on potentially, and those battle passes create natural rarity. You can't get season 1 and season 10. Once season 1's over, you can't. So it's a very natural way to actually like implement rarity in a natural, non-pushy, non-sales way. People buy skins anyway. They want to look cool. They want to look at a good player. There's some skins that are just super cool looking, and then some that people try to like emulate because they see their favorite streamer once again using. So I think like email, password, log in on the game, and then if you want to, you can go everything you earn under that login, because I mean you have to create a login to do anything, Xbox, PlayStation anyway. So that's not anything abnormal. Login, password. And if you want to, you can go online and connect a wallet. It can show you how to set up a wallet, and you can go trade your assets. If you want to. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
It's funny because I did a podcast recently with Joe McKeating, and he said it's going to be really hard to knock off email, and and it's funny that we sort of go back to email as the tool, but it's the easiest way to get folks in. Just interesting.
All right, Jorge, are you back? Let's hear it.
Yeah. Sorry. I had the do not disturb button was not put on, and someone was trying to call me.
Okay. Well, we're back now. Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't need to be. You don't need. As long as you can, like Flow does it, right? Like Dapper Labs. You log in, you put your credit card in, you own the asset on a blockchain, whether it's centralized or not, whatever. But like that's the kind of thing that's going to take somebody who doesn't want to download a wallet or whatever and just make it easy for them to onboard. So I
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah,
definitely some fiat on ramping has to be a part of it. Accepting a credit card needs to become a part of it.
Exactly.
Now, that's where the legalities of like a KYC comes in, though. And that's another thing that gamers are kind of like, I have to submit my identity to buy this. It's like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, that brings. So we have an NFT project. We're gonna. So yeah, a couple people on 13. We'll call it 15 people in here. We're gonna be giving away some POAPs, and we're gonna be giving away some NFTs. So we have an NFT community, and we had to do that too. We're a registered financial company, and we want to do something with NFTs. So we had to be very careful and strict, working with our compliance department, legal department, to make sure we're not going to get in trouble, right? So part of that means when you sign up for our NFT, you have to give us your name and your email and what kind are you an investor and et cetera, et cetera. And that scares some people off. You know, when we did the NFT, we had 50,000 signups. 40,000 of them put their email in as 123gmail.com, right? Like, and that's automatic. Those are Web3 people saying, I'm not giving you my email, right? So there needs to be a kind of a meet in the middle moment, I think, for the explosion to happen. Um,
Yeah, I think the other thing to add is that, as we talk about like gaming and all this stuff is like, it's funny because we are at the forefront of all this, we are so right now like nitpicking everything, right? We're like, it doesn't need to be a AAA game, it doesn't need to be a AAA game. Because remember, Fortnite when it first came out wasn't like something that everybody was like, ooh, ah, right? So it's gonna be something along the lines that everybody's gonna overlook in this space that's really going to bring on mass adoption.
do you think the game? Okay, so we're gonna say there's a game that's gonna be the big one. Is that game out right now?
No, not yet.
Okay, you don't think that
Absolutely
game's out.
not. Absolutely not.
You think, and you mentioned
Remember,
some.
we're in year two.
We're in year two. You mentioned something, Hustle, that piqued my interest, which is that it might be a streamer that launches a game. And my favorite streamer is drumroll Dr. Disrespect. I think he's hilarious, and he's got his own studio, right? Like he's got a studio and he's creating a game. And so, do you think it's going to be a Dr. Disrespect or Mr. Beast or somebody like that that creates their own studio or partners with Activision? Is that how you see it happening?
In my opinion, right now, if I'm looking at the NFT gaming landscape, they're at the tip top right now. They've done 2 play tests. The first one was super polished, like graphically, but you could tell that the mechanics were kind of very. What he wants to do is in a decentralized way, like bring it piece by piece, and I love that. So like if you have a founder's pass, you get to play the game over like consistent snapshots, as they're calling it. So like the first one was like a training ground. The map looked fantastic, and then the second one was kind of like the map wasn't that great. It was super undetailed, but the game, like the way that it felt
Played
mechanically,
good.
was so much better.
Did you play it?
It played a lot better, and
Are
I
you?
think that.
Do you have the Founders Pass? Are you in it?
Yeah, I have a founder's pass.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in it, and I'm going to talk about it today on my YouTube show too.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah, I'm going to talk
That's
about some of the gameplay. But yeah, I think it's fantastic because he built Call of Duty maps. People don't know that, you know. He also has ex-Infinity Ward people littering his team. Like his whole team used to build Call of Duty, and I
Yeah.
think that once he's playing it and it's playable to everybody and not just founders pass people,
Yeah.
the people watching are going to play. They want to
Yeah.
play with the
Well,
two
that's the
times
thing.
plan.
Yeah, he has the community, right? He's built that community, right? And that's when we talk about mass adoption and like the influencer, he is that influencer that might
Yeah.
bridge that. I mean, look, you have him doing this now, and now you have FaZe Clan saying they're going to be here in 2023. So you're slowly starting to see people are like, okay, something's happening over here, and it's going to gradually happen. So I think the next 6 months are going to be something to really watch in GameFi as more eyes are coming in. Kind of like crypto, remember? Like when we started, 4 years ago, banks were slowly looking at it. And now, like you guys even have our own crypto desk, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Like how quickly it came.
Yeah. It's interesting you see the headlines of like this guy, like you just said, Infinity Ward. How many people are working for Dr. Disrespect now from Infinity Ward? how many people have gone from Activision or Epic or whoever and are now working fully on Web3 games? Like the talent is there. They're just incubating. It's just going to take some time.
One of the sharpest people in the space that I've ever talked to, Ryan Wyatt from Polygon, ex YouTube Gaming. He's known Dr. Disrespect for a decade or so. Actually, he's the one that kind of orchestrated behind the scenes getting Dr. Disrespect to come over to YouTube Gaming, kind of at that height of the Twitch ban drama. If anyone's familiar with that, and Ryan kind of told me, like the way that he sees this whole thing is all the best developers. You don't know. It's the same thing as a movie production. People know the actors. You don't know who produces the movie. Yeah. They know the director and the actors. They know the Scorsese's and the DiCaprio type of thing. They don't know the producers. They don't know the people who actually are ins and outs making the film as great potentially as it is behind the scenes. It's the same thing with game development. People know it's Infinity Ward, but they don't know who the devs are. These devs have a fantastic opportunity to come into this industry and actually showcase their talent under their own terms and get the full credit for it in a decentralized mechanism that's not so like binding from the top down.
Yeah, like that. So that we were talking before we started. So, I covered the video game space, like the publicly traded video game space, and it's kind of like 2020 was really exciting because so many people were playing. Warzone. Me and Bartley used to play Warzone back in.
We have the quarantine.
It was
if
crazy.
Everyone was playing Warzone. Everyone. The Gulag was like the biggest meme on Twitter.
Yeah. But now it's kind of like, okay, what's next, right? Like, what's next for gaming as a whole? I mean, Fortnite's still big. The new Warzone's coming out, or the new Call of Duty's coming out, but what's the next thing? And I really do. I think it's this. But,
And speaking of Fortnite really quickly, it's interesting. Epic Games is trickling in, and they famously launched, Fortnite. And when you look at their moves, they invested $2 billion in metaverse efforts. They just put $2 billion aside. They said that's what we're going to do with this money. And then recently they just did an investment, $30 million, into a metaverse infrastructure development. So it seems like they already have the biggest metaverse in the world. They're allowing games now to launch NFT games on Epic Games, going against Steam Marketplace.
Yep.
It almost seems like they're almost going to test what's the traction on these games? What's like the reviews on these games? What's the sentiment? What if we were to roll out some skins that are potential? Like they could just do one bundle. You actually own this. You can trade it and see how it goes. You can be smart enough to not flip over your whole economy overnight, but you could do the first ever pack that's like an NFT. I think that would explode personally. It would explode. And then they would never go back to the old model. I actually think they're planting the seeds right now potentially for testing in the future.
I 100% agree. And that people, I've read the argument pretty convincingly that the first NFTs were Team Fortress 2 stuff that you could trade on the marketplace, right? Like it just wasn't tied to the blockchain. It wasn't based on the blockchain. And there's a comment from
CS:GO skins.
Yeah, and there's a comment from KO Arcade, which is exactly this. And the plan is everything to be behind the scenes. I'm not doing it because it's crypto. I'm just doing it because it makes sense, and then I can trade it, and there's it's owned by me, and I can sell it on that marketplace, which is I completely agree with that. I think it's going to be epic.
Yeah, and
I do too.
Yeah, and I think it's behind the scenes now, but in 5 years, it might not be behind the scenes anymore.
Yeah.
It might be at the forefront. So it's almost like that we're building in reverse right now, right? Which I believe is what's happening. We're building in reverse because we are coming from this market and trying to get into this other market, and this other market's coming into ours, and they're like, wait, make it easy, make it simple, and that's kind of what we're preaching right now. But I'm pretty sure in like 3 or 5 years, it'll be a whole different way to log on, where it's like, hey, you need the MetaMask wallet and load your assets or whatever it is. It's part of the evolution. It's part of the education phase that we're in right now.
Yeah.
The idea of interoperable assets, it seems like in practice it'll be difficult to make happen. I mean, forget just a watch or a jetpack, but when you consider the graphics, Sandbox to Star Atlas, like what do you think about that? How easy or difficult do you think that will be to actually make happen in practice?
Well, I first think
go ahead.
Go for it.
I was gonna. I know some projects who are, I think it more goes down to core development and, taking what's in one game if they want to do a collaboration and actually curating that character for another experience, not just dropping that graphical character into another realm. While that could be super cool looking aesthetically, obviously the mechanics behind that are going to be completely difficult, built on different engines, etc. But I think just like actually cultivating these devs, they have so many developers, they can cultivate these characters to implicate Star Atlas and Sandbox in another game, etc. So I think it more comes down to the development side of things and making it fit in your game more than just making your character go into another metaverse as is. Jorge.
Yeah. And I think what I look at interoperability is I look at interoperability and the community behind that, right? So I look at like, okay, Undead Blocks, let's use them, right? I believe that right now they are leading the mass adoption because it's free to play. They're giving away $10,000 every single weekend. You download the game and you're ready to start playing. You just put in your email and that's it. Like they are literally leading that. Now, what they're doing is also now is bringing interoperability in the sense of skins to the weapons. So now there's Immutable X, you could get their weapon in that game. And so it's something as easy or as simple as that identifies you from a different community. And once that starts happening in these games, like I'm going to be wanting to represent arcade in this if I play Undead Blocks. And if it's a tournament, I want the arcade gun. And so I'm thinking that interoperability and the community behind it is what's really going to really mesh these games and these partners and everything and make this kind of another platform or another ways of how mass adoption really works within every other game. Because you can't see that right now. Like if I go play Call of Duty, I can't bring in a skin from a different partner yet. You know what I mean? And that's what's unique about Web3.
So it's going to be on like a case by case, item for item basis for the next several years. I'm not going to show up with a cyber Kong wearing a jetpack, riding a skateboard with a watch, and enter a new world, and everything's going to transition over for quite some time. Yeah.
So
it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back and think about macro environment, right? Like 2021, I mean, January 2021, all 2021 till the end was very exciting, right? Like it was a very exciting time to be buying NFTs, participating in this economy. We're all going to make it. Have fun staying poor. All that kind of stuff was going on, right? And we had a fun time doing that. And it's not the same anymore, right? Like I saw a pretty funny Twitter meme, and it was like the dog on the left was very, the strong dog was talking about, aping into some NFT, and then the dog on the right was like, well, 4% yield on my T-bill, so like the market environment is completely different, right? And there's a little bit of that energy has been taken out. So, and then that leads to, well, builders build, right? We're going to build through the bear market, right? And I feel like that's what you guys are doing. And, an advisor, whatever, you guys are both doing that, right? You didn't pack up your bags and leave. So what is that like for you coming off of a hot season into now this bear market that we're in? How do you stay up? How do you keep your mindset right?
Yeah, well, I'll just say that I don't think GameFi is in a bear market. I need to clarify that because technically, if you're looking at seeing what the money is coming into GameFi right now, it's extraordinary amounts that are coming into GameFi, into studios, into developers. So there's an extraordinary amount of money coming in. Yes, maybe there's a bear market going on in the crypto world. And it's funny, man. I always say that, like, when I talk GameFi, I don't ever want to talk about the market because GameFi is about gaming and having fun and playing games. I shouldn't have to know or understand what's happening in the crypto market. I could care less about that. That's not for me. That's for somebody. Leave that to the professionals that are doing that part of that job, right? So to me, like, right now what's happening, yes, because we understand it. I don't believe GameFi is really in a bear market in the sense that what's still happening, money's still coming. Money has not dried up at all in GameFi. I mean, if it has, I'm not seeing it, right? So, I mean, I'll let Hustle take it from there.
I love that. I love that. So when you get asked questions and stuff like that and these kinds of things, I love the rejecting the premise of the question. So I really appreciate that. So that was a great answer. Thank you. Clip it.
I think that and he's right. When you look at the statistics on money in gaming, actually, over the first half of 2022, over 50% of the financing deals in gaming were in blockchain games. And that's even more so because Q3 was the biggest fundraising quarter of the year so far for Web3 games. I mean, we just saw multi-billion-dollar investments come in. We saw one gaming studio raise $500 million. I mean, things were ridiculous in this quarter. And that just shows because VC money, think about how hard it is to be a VC in gaming and be like, I'm going to get the next Fortnite. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Be realistic with yourself. You're not knocking off Apex, Fortnite, Call of Duty, and Valorant right now.
Yeah.
Those are the kings, and they're not going anywhere in the short term. So, in my opinion, this is the way. Like, this is the area to be in, and that's why all the smart money, the VC money, the funds are coming into Web3 gaming because this is going to be the future of gaming, and these are going to be the Fortnites of the future.
So, do you think all these projects are just oh, sorry, Bartlett, were you gonna say something? You go.
No, maybe just as a follow-up to sort of the confidence vibe that you guys are sending. You have experience in this space, and so when you're identifying certain games to buy, something like you're buying the ships in Star Atlas, right, or assets. I'm curious to know what are those sort of characteristics that you're looking at that for the projects that make the cut, and then the ones where you're like, this is what I saw that said, yeah, I'm not interested. And maybe that's gameplay hustle if you're getting like a beta around or whatever. But I have to assume that the confidence comes from I know what's coming down the pipe, and it's really exciting. And that forget the price because this is gonna blow people's socks off. Like, talk to us about sort of like what you're looking at.
Yeah, so and Jorge can attest to this. In our collection, I do like our gaming reports, and I actually just recently talked about my pillars of how to like vet a project, right? And luckily, I do have the luxury of being able to contact teams and talk to them. So I'll go over some pillars. Tokenomics. You have to have tokenomics or economics if it's a game, right? How do the NFTs fit into the economy? Is it going to be healthy? Is it a 2-token system? If so, that's going to be probably really tough to handle, as far as like the inflation behind second tokens, Axie Infinity style. I'll look at the audience that they have, the niche, gameplay loop if it's a game. Exactly is it an infrastructure? Is it a gameplay distribution? Is it a game? Is it a studio? So I just kind of go through all of these core pillars. Let's just use Undead Blocks, for example. I know the team, super sharp guys, so innovative. They have a revenue-based model with their sponsorship tournaments, super bullish on that. Gameplay loop is super strong. All the economics behind both of their tokens. They do have a 2-token system, but one is pegged to the dollar, so it's fantastic. Like, everything they're doing just makes so much sense. And so that's an economy that whenever I'm looking at just a game, even just from an outside perspective, everything they do is very strong, and they do have skin packs for guns, etc. But so that's a good example, and Jorge mentioned that one earlier, and that's one that we're very commonly, bullish on.
How big of a piece is their funding, knowing that they have a runway of X amount of years? Like, are you looking at that?
Absolutely, runway means a lot. I mean, you have to have, like, that's why, like, when you look at like the Gala games, the immutable X's, the polygons, you're looking at the money and the partners they're accumulating, they aren't going anywhere, right? So like, those are going to be major players in the space for years to come. And I think like funding and runway is massively, you have to take that in consideration.
Do you think
of course, and I think that
go ahead, Jorge.
Yeah, funding and runway is such an important thing because look, I think we've seen how many games have already said they're going to come out with beta, and then they get pushed back, and they get pushed back. So runway is very important, and I would almost say that right now we're looking at games and saying, okay, your runway is 12 months, but really your runway should be 24 months because you're going to delay. There's going to be things coming out. There's going to be partnerships you create as you're building that are going to push you back. And so understanding the runway is very important to what they're building.
Do you think these things, the first one that gets big is just going to get bought by Epic or bought by Activision? Or do you think they're going to be able to carve out on their own and there's going to be 2 systems going at the same time?
Jorge, you can go first.
Yeah, look, I think that's all going to really come down to the developer itself. I talk to so many developers that are like, look, man, I'm going to build this game and I want to get out and like cash me out, and then I want to go build another game. So there's developers that already have that mindset. But then there's also developers that are Web3 native, I would say almost. They're like, man, I'm passionate about what I'm building. This is going to be my baby forever. And yeah, maybe I'll step down as a CEO and be like the head of the board or whatever, some sort of idea of that. and let somebody else take in charge as we're seeing more Web 2 gamers and developers and producers coming into the space, that they're going to say, hey, I'm going to let someone who's been running, let's just say Call of Duty for the past 10 years, and he wants to come in this space and he wants to be the CEO. By all means, I'll step aside and let him be the CEO. So to me, it's going to be more of a preference to who it is. I mean, I think Hustle will probably give you a different right now perspective, but that's my opinion at least.
It's interesting to see that Sandbox. I'll just follow up real quick. Sandbox declined Meta's offer to buy them. That should be pretty significant. They are valuated. Their market cap's multi-billions, and at that time it was more billions than the market cap is today. So I think that's a pretty telling sign that a lot of these developers might have a strong stance again. The true DeFi guys might really just have a strong stance to be the decentralized metaverse. Who knows? But I do think certainly we're going to see major acquisitions from these big brands who want to do that. But I also see, the Apples, the Amazons, the Facebook, obviously Meta, the Microsofts. They're going to all have their own metaverse app, their game app that are NFT based or Web3 driven. I see that in the future 100%.
Nice. All right, let's take a step back. We got PO-ops, so I'm going to flash the PO-op on the screen. If you guys want one, I guess I don't know if you can pull up the YouTube on your phone or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flash it. I'm going to share my screen here. And I think one of you guys is going to disappear. Sorry, I didn't set up the four screen. All right, let's see if we do this right. Yeah, okay, so Jorge, you disappeared. You're still here in spirit. We can hear you, but your face is gone. But yeah, this is a cool PO-op. Big shout out. I'm going to put this in our big marketing chat too. So we can because there's only 12 people on, which is, a little disappointing, but what can you do? Shout out to Donna. Uh-oh, I shared my screen. Shout out to Donna Pearson for designing these awesome PO-ops. PO-ops up now if you want one. Designing these awesome PO-ops, and then she did a great job on the thumbnail too. I really love the thumbnail that we created for today. So we'll leave this up for a second and just talk for a second, and let's see if any of these go away. 2 only still claimed. It's just me and Bartlett.
So, Jorge, we're going to get you, after this call, we'll get you one of the VanEck NFTs so you guys are a part of our community. Unless you already have one, Jorge.
Oh, your battery's dead, man. You can't get it.
My phone's dead. I can't even get it.
I'll send you a link.
Yeah, but I don't see the poll. I see the PO-up QR code, but did you showcase the PO-up actually?
No, we like to review. We like to do the reveal when you get it. It's a cool. So we started doing memes. So we take a meme. So this one we did the guy from Lord of the Ring going like this and saying, "One does not simply play to earn," and then on the back is the little VanEck logo. So
it's like a coin.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's good.
The PO-op guys are really cool. Lucas from PO-op.
Is this claimable as soon as it's over so I can go back and charge my phone?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, you got.
Should be.
Let me see.
We can keep it.
All right. I'm gonna get it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we will get you guys an NFT, and then everyone who claims the PO-op today, we'll put them into a raffle to win one of our VanEck NFTs. So,
awesome.
Hopefully somebody enjoys.
Why don't you do so we haven't done our NFT stuff lately, Bartlett. Why don't you do a little hum a few bars about what we did, what the NFT community's been doing lately, what we did recently. I mean, we were at NYSE. I wasn't able to make it, but
Yeah, so we partnered with Afropolitan, which is an NFT project bringing the best that Africa has to offer across the diaspora. For all sorts of Web3 businesses. And so we partnered with them and co-hosted an event at the New York Stock Exchange 2 weeks ago. So we had 94 people come to the party. It was great. We actually had the entire boardroom at the stock exchange. We did a private bell ringing ceremony. And then we rang the afternoon bell to close out the day. Of course, it happened to be the biggest down day all year. So the good news is that we were on like a loop on CNBC for the next 12 hours as people whined about the market. So there's no such thing as bad press. I did mention it previously, but we did get approval to use Portals, which is a Solana-based NFT first project, and we're in the process of building out our room, and sometime realistically early November we're going to have an event there where we're going to invite our community members in to check out the space, have a scavenger hunt for maybe one of the more rare NFTs, and that will be our portal for all communication sort of going forward, because not everybody, I mean, Jorge and Hustle, not everybody follows us on Twitter. You know, we're in the States. I can only email people in the States. So, you know, aside from possibly having a one-way Discord communication channel, this is what we're hoping to be the spot for people to come in, connect, get to meet each other, but it's in sort of a safe environment. So we have to play by a few slightly different rules than most other NFT projects, because we're, you know, regulated financial services company.
Makes sense.
People keep trickling, so let's just let it run for another minute or two.
Yeah, I would say let it run, and then you know, let the conversation keep going.
All right, cool. Yeah, so we have 17 out of 50, man. Whatever. I don't know what else. I can't bring up my screen. I can't bring up my notes.
So Jorge, in Hustle. So basically, if one wanted to build a fantastic portfolio of NFT game assets, they could just copy what ARCADE2EARN has put together. Is that right? I mean.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of it. That's why I think Hustle and I partner so well, right? Is that, you know, you're able to see on the arcade the mission pools of the NFT assets that we bought or we're buying, right? So that's the beauty of it. And then we're able to really kind of we're looking at, I think, maybe 5 or 10 games a week. It's an extraordinary number, because you know, a lot of the investment behind a lot of these games require some deep research into what we want to invest in. And so a lot of the VCs are coming to us, gamers, developers are just hearing about what we're doing, and they're like, hey, you know, check us out, check this out, blah, blah, blah. You know, is this something that you guys would invest in? And so because of all that, we've also created a lot of the research reports for every single game. And so on the arcade platform, you're going to be able to see the mission pools of the games. And then you're also going to be able to see kind of all the games that we have, like, that we've looked into. And the same thing with Hustle. Hustle does something very similar, in the sense that he has actually a gaming collective. And Hustle, I'll let you speak. I don't want to speak for you, but go for it.
Yeah, so and it's kind of like it's a different approach than what the way that Arcade is approaching it, as far as like the index fund of GameFi type of approach. We're more of like community-based GameFi project. We do accumulate NFT gaming assets for both exposure for our holders to those assets at obviously lowering the barrier. Like we just mentioned, whenever you look at assets out there, they're just so overpriced. On top of that, we have basically an escrow system in place to be able to rent these assets out to our holders, and they're also getting exclusive access into other games just by holding our pass, with this thing of ours, Access Pass. So they're already getting into other GameFi ecosystems, and they'll also have our treasury, which will have some of those lands and key assets to get involved into those bigger ecosystems.
So is it an NFT? You launched your own NFT, is that right? Is that
yeah. Last month we minted on we minted August 31st, and the public sale ended up selling out in about 6 minutes. It's NFT gaming collective, like through and through. We're trying to connect builders, investors, and gamers all under one roof. The 3 pillars are basically information, networking, as well as the treasury, which is going to all go back. Over 50% of every dollar that ever comes through the project is going back into the treasury for accumulation of assets.
This thing of ours? Is that what it is?
Yep. That's
sick. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Boardbox, a little bit. I mean, are you dropping game assets onto people?
So whenever the treasury does start accumulating assets, every period we will do some random airdrops. Like, some people might just end up with random NFTs in their wallets, GameFi assets, etc. We have that stuff planned. Yeah.
7% listed. That's pretty good.
So selecting the game assets is one thing. Let's talk about selecting the player. Is it the operator, the mission pool operator?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that if I'm going to put my tokens in and I'm going to step aside and let the guy play the game or girl play the game, like, who's doing it? How are you selecting that person?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And so we look for professionals, game guilds, or just a regular gaming professional. And so basically, there's actually a vetting process that goes through all of this, kind of with our executive. So our investment team and our research team comes together, and kind of there's an application that one needs to file, kind of apply for. Let's just say like you're applying for a job type thing, and kind of they'll put you through kind of like some demo versions or whatever it is, beta versions of you actually playing, and like some history of it, so that therefore we're comfortable with it. And so it's a pretty extensive process. But there is a vetting and application process that every game guild or professional will need to go through to be able to use the assets.
Is there any head-to-head combat interview with Hustle and the potential person in like Modern Warfare where they have to get past Hustle in order to get to the next level?
So in our collection, we just have we have a section in there for like the gamers. We have a lot of Warzone sweats, like 8 sweats are like good players for gaming terminology. We have a bunch of like really good Warzone, Apex, Fortnite players in there. So we'll start vetting from the top guys from there for our assets in those type of games. And we're going to run some tournaments and stuff like that, which are going to be kind of experiments for us to be able to recruit players, because it's got to be our holders, right? Ours is all about our holders, so we're not going to go external to recruit unless it was like an official esports league type of thing. Then we would step up those ramifications, which we wouldn't be opposed to in the future, given my esports background. And obviously, I'd be more than happy to help out Arcade with everything that they're doing on the esports side as well, because I think that's a major driver and catalyst for the future of the industry.
Would those be streamed by any chance? Like, could we somehow
Absolutely
the qualifying tournaments? I mean, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I'm not really supposed to talk about this, but I'll talk about it because you're
Alpha. We're pulling Alpha out. Here we go.
Let's go.
So we actually because of the way the mission pools are built, the mission pools are going to be able to kind of go into the esports tournaments and be done through Arcade, because we're going to be able to give you, okay, so if it's Hustle versus me, which I think everybody wants to watch because they're going to want to see me win, they're going to be like, okay, you're able to go on the Arcade platform and stake tokens on my team and say, hey, I'm here to vote for kind of Jorge and play, and you're going to be able to play tournaments just like you are in any other in the Web2 space on the Arcade platform. And so that's something that's really kind of innovative, that we're kind of being at the forefront right now as we're seeing esports coming in, how we're able to play with the tournaments that are happening right now.
That sounds like straight up gambling, right? Like that's what you
mean. I'm not saying anything.
All right, that sounds fun. A lot of things have come up. Like, I have all these questions. So for Arcade, this is for Arcade questions. So like, if I own and I know it's so like if I own an NFT and I want to loan it out to a mission pool operator and they're going to go to the mission pool, can you talk about the incentives for each one of those parties? Like, what is the incentive of the gamer? Like, how are you structuring the payout? Anything you can say about that, because that's an interesting question for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that this is the part where we say Arcade is for everyone. And so, yeah, Arcade did about a little over $7.4 million raise, and 70% of the raise goes into NFT assets. But essentially, the real thing about Arcade is that as we're building the models right now, Arcade in the future probably won't hold that many assets. It's going to be a lot of assets from whales and people that are buying in games. Because right now, remember, it's a meta game right now, right? They're play with it. I have my real day job, I'm an investor. Yeah. And so they're coming to our platform and saying, okay, here, let's lend it out. Let you lend it out to the professionals, and let's all, like a 3-way split kind of who gets a piece of the pie from the in-game activities. So for whales, like for NFT holders that are investing right now, this is a way for them to have their assets actually be put to use. And so by being able to be put to use, there's more utility to what we're doing and more what they get in return. So that's one aspect of it, really. And I think that's kind of why, again, Arcade is for everyone, really, why I keep saying that.
Nice. And what about you, Hustle? What are the incentives? The people who own your NFT, their incentive is to... I just found out about this, and I was going to ask you what your hat is, and now I'm looking at the OpenSea, and it's your logo for your NFT collective. So what's the incentive for people to own your NFT? What's the incentive for the games to interact with you?
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, we have an information pillar, so I give out a ton of information on games, GameFi, games I'm looking at, my sentiment, my analysis on the market and certain projects, et cetera. So they get a lot of hands-on information about like exclusive content just straight from the source. And then second of all, there's a big network of our partners. Shrapnel, Collider Craftworks, My Pet Hooligan, NF Arcade. We have so many top tier partnerships across the space in GameFi, and they're all like utility driven, whether we get access to their gaming ecosystems, we have a skin in their ecosystems. Like whenever holders can load in, and I know Arcade can too, can load into My Pet Hooligan, and then all of a sudden you have a custom skin already on your character. And you get access to that gaming ecosystem just by being a part of our communities. As well, in the staking regard, you'll be able to stake your NFT to the treasury, basically, like, staking it for the treasury will eventually open up claim periods, kind of like quarterly or fortnightly periods, depending upon the market, right? Because it's hard to say like when the first claim period is going to be for us. We just minted and we haven't even distributed into the market because we're being wary of the climate, right? Macro, et cetera. So it's very hard to judge when that will, activate, just being realistic. But once that does happen, there will be a claim process. You go in and whatever revenue was generated from that period divvies up between holders, and it's just a claiming process.
Somebody said, "Don't forget the algo." Eric Penn said that. What does that
Oh
mean?
yeah, and so Steady Stack's one of our partners. For example, they get an exclusive trading algorithm in our server, which goes over Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then other top gaming coins like Sandbox, ApeCoin, Ultra, Vulcan Forged, etc. So it's like a trading tool. It's like Market Cipher. It's like Market Cipher, but for free.
Nice.
Yeah, in a way, it's like Market Cipher, like for signals, but it's for our holders just for free.
Well,
I'm buying one. I'm gonna front run JP before he.
I'm broke, bro. I just went on a freaking week and a half vacation. I don't have any money.
It's a bear market.
I know,
JP,
exactly.
it's a bear market. That's what you're supposed to say.
Exactly, it's a bear market. I saw something on Twitter and it was today, and it wasn't a big account, but they were like, I'm not going to name names, but there's a project that's minting again, or like from this collective, they're going to do a new collection, and they have 4 things that are already out already, where they're supposed to be a game or something like that, and they're minting something else. So it's like, I don't know, where do you draw the line between focusing on what launching a game or launching this project, or minting again on something new, right? Like there's this weird dynamic. So I don't know.
So for me, I'll just say this as like a content creator, and then now I just founded my own project, which is going to have its own metrics to it. I feel like the next, like, what I would eventually want to build toward is being integral part of building a game. Yeah, of course, bring my holders exclusive access to some sort of a gaming ecosystem, and big alpha, I guess, would be, we've had a lot of interest in people like having me come in and kind of like lead their strategy on like a battle royale or something like that. So I'll just kind of leave that there, but there is a lot of plans, at least for me, to be an integral part of building a game, which is like a first-person shooter, third-person shooter, battle royale in the future. And I think that would be like the big trifecta for me, having YouTube, my NFT collection, and then my ultimately gaming ecosystem. So that's the eventual goal for me, is to kind of make that well-rounded ecosystem in this industry.
Yeah, and I think even Arcade, we launched our consulting service less than 6 months, or maybe less than 4 or 6 months, and we're at almost, I think, a little over a dozen games that we're kind of consulting right now. And so that's because of, again, not only that we look at so many games, I could say that we're pretty knowledgeable at this point to point out quickly what's kind of like what tokenomics. Can you help us with marketing? Can you help us with legal? Can you help us with building what tell us what's fun and what's not fun from the games. So I think like the evolution of Arcade, I think Arcade has grown pretty big now, to the sense that we have so many, I call it an octopus with so many different tentacles, that it's like, be a consulting service. Now the marketing, we have, we're doing game talk shows, we're doing, cross collaborations with so many different type of games, and helping with marketing and communities, gaming guilds. And so I think it's just growing right now. And I think because Hustle and I are at the forefront of a lot of this, I think in a year from us, we're going to be able to really help the GameFi community grow more, because we've seen what works and what doesn't work.
That's great. Off-topic question: do you think Call of Duty? I guess this is for Hustle. I don't either of you. Do you think Call of Duty extraction mode is going to kill Tarkov? Because Call of Duty, the new one's going to be coming out with Escape from Tarkov style mode. I downloaded Tarkov. I can't play that game. It's too hard. It's too crazy.
I think Call of Duties will probably get a lot more traction just naturally. Yeah. Escape from Tarkov's already kind of fallen off the Twitch ranks as well.
Oh, really?
So I would totally see some Tarkov guys trying the game, and if it's good, it could totally. It's like Warzone, right? Everyone was an Apex or a Fortnite player, and all the pros in Warzone were like they came from either Call of Duty background or from another battle royale, because you can pick that up very easily just in a battle royale sense.
Yeah, we were doing 2 years ago. We were talking to a bunch of people in like a smaller esports organization. We linked up, and they were Apex guys, and we played a couple games in Warzone, and it was unbelievable. Like, it was unbelievable. I mean, me and Bartlett play, and Jim Cooper will play, and just kind of goofing around. We're playing, we're trying our best, and we're attacking or whatever. I mean, these guys were just nuts, and they weren't even like top guys. Like, the levels are crazy once you get into that level.
My friends were all at first in COVID when I first started playing Warzone again, like for the first time. I hadn't really played COD competitively in years, like since I left it off when I started college. I came back and I was immediately dropping just tons of kills. And, I started dropping like 20 and 30 kills in certain matches. And they're like, okay, what the heck are you doing? Because like my hometown, they're like, this is why you don't play with us.
Yeah, because
they'd be like, you need better teammates.
You probably screw up their lobbies too.
Yeah, they were a lot sweatier lobbies. They would get killed by a pro, and they would like, Johnny, bro, what is this?
Yeah, you probably that's cool. Any lightning round questions, Bartlett? I mean, I'm
good. This has been great.
Yeah, this has been nuts. So usually we only have 3 people on. So this is the first time we've had 4 people on at the same time. And I feel like there was a lot more of this going on, which is fun. So I think that,
I loved it. I think it was really good.
You guys are breaking new ground.
Hey, there's a first time for everything, right?
There's a first time for everything. Look, we topped out 15, 16, maybe we got 20 viewers top, but I think we'll get some replays on this one.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I think, as we've seen, again, the evolution of YouTube, right? I think we're seeing YouTube and what's happening with Twitch, YouTube Shorts now taking kind of over, like trying to take over the TikTok market. Yeah. I think it's just like as the influencers, as creators, as developers and everything, these are the type of things that we need to look into. And so now we're seeing, okay, YouTube Shorts. So like if we create enough shorts from videos from this hour, I mean, we're going to attract a lot more of audience. So it's all, and this is kind of why I'm CMO, is because this is my creative mind kind of thinking is like, man, like now, like, we could cover a different market. We could bring in new audiences. And I think, look, let's say like LinkedIn, right? It's the most, I think, underappreciated or undervalued social media platform in the sense of gamers, because there's gamers on that platform. I bet I could say, there's, I don't know what the number is, but I would be shocked if it's over 50% that are gamers, but that we haven't even touched there. And so like, as we start making YouTube shorts, and I think LinkedIn had already experimented with making 30-second videos. You guys remember when IG stories came out? LinkedIn tried to do IG stories as well. It didn't go so well. But now with the way that the GameFi is kind of changing, I think that they should, we're going to see that being flown, kind of starting a new LinkedIn revolution type thing.
I think LinkedIn's undervalued too. I'm not good at social media. I have thin skin, and I get upset, and then so I'll do social media for like 2 weeks, and then I'll be like, I'm done, and I won't, I lurk. But I've noticed when I post on LinkedIn, I'll get 1,000, 1,500 impressions, and I post on Twitter where I have more followers, and I'll get half that. And so that is interesting. I do think LinkedIn is kind of undervalued as far as engagement and reach and stuff like that. Cool.
And I think the other thing is articles, right? Like when you look at LinkedIn, what type of platform it is, right? It's a reading platform, right? Yeah. Where professionals get to read. Yeah. And something in GameFi that we don't do is we don't write enough articles to be published out. So, that's another thing that, we're doing with like the Game Talk show at Arcade is like, we're taking every show that we've done and putting them into articles, and then putting those articles out onto like Medium, but sharing them onto LinkedIn where we are getting those impressions. And like, I'll share something on my LinkedIn profile and like, I'll get like crazy numbers. And it's because I spent 15, 16 years almost building my LinkedIn, whatever it was. to what Twitter is now. You know, like it's funny, man. In my Twitter, I think I have like 1,500 followers, right? And it's something that I'm just starting all new again because I was never into the Twitter space because the financial sector was only on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just part of the evolution.
Any final thoughts from you guys? Jerry Springer, final thoughts?
Yeah.
Go.
You know, I'll just leave it with, you know, there's a couple ways to follow us. Go on Twitter, ARCADE2EARN. Go on Instagram, ARCADE2EARN. You know, follow us. Go join our Discord. I think joining the Discord is very cool because one of the things about Arcade is that we are bringing almost every single gaming community into our Arcade Discord because of the relationships we have with these games partners and everything. So it's kind of like a collective in the sense of all these a collective of all these people that are in these chats that want to come chat more about, hey, how do we do work in interoperability? How do we work on, you know, what's fun, what's not, gaming nights. We're doing like this whole week. This Friday, we're doing a Discord crawl where we go from different Discords. So we'll start off like, let's just say the Fluff World community. Then we'll go into another one, maybe Non-Fungible Arcade, and then we'll end up in Civitas, right? And so like, it's cool to bring different community members, listen to the music, like, you know, vibing out and still being able to chat at the same time. And so, you know, Arcade is really kind of trying to help bring different communities together. And so even the Game Talk show where we kind of bring on games and we try to educate, talk about knowledge, what they're building, how they're building it, you know, what makes sense, what's fun, what's not. So there's different, like I said, I call Arcade this octopus because there's many ways that we try to build and make everybody together. And so, you know, just really excited about everything that's happening with Arcade right now.
Be careful with that because that's what that what's that guy's name? The Rolling Stone article where he said the squid, the blood-sucking squid. Anybody know what I'm talking about? It's a big article from like 2008 so. Where it's like either Goldman or Lehman's. Like anyway. All right, cool. Well, hey guys, can you hang on for 5 minutes? Can you hang on for 5 minutes after this?
Real quick, how do we follow Hustle?
Oh yeah, Hustle. Yeah, what's going on with you? Thanks.
Yeah, I would say on YouTube, Crypto Banter, on Twitter, HustlePediaYT, and TTOO NFT if you want to check out the NFT project.
Yeah.
I just bought.
What's your social security number?
You're welcome.
My man, I appreciate you. Welcome to the family.
You just bought it right now, really? Wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
I did. I wasn't kidding.
Nice. Well, we'll close on that bullish note. All right, guys, hold tight. I'm gonna run the ending, and then we'll talk just for 1 second to this. See you, everybody.